Steadily it rises.
Hey, it's ODB back with another video. This is a 64 Lincoln Continental Convertible. Definitely want to do a deep dive. I think this is a car that is going to appeal to a lot of people. So stick with me to the end if you can. Please consider subscribing, leave a comment. It definitely helps out the channel. So what I want to do is briefly look at some of these photos, and then we'll go through what I had kind of prepared. What we can see is a 64 Lincoln Continental Convertible. It's not a black Lincoln, which is desirable to many. 69,000 miles, give or take. You've got that original kind of look and feel of the interior. We can see that it has the 65 taillights, which has the cages. These are easily interchangeable. If you didn't like that, you could obviously change those very easy. It does have the wide white wall tires, which are not going to appeal to everyone. The wide white wall tire was pretty much kind of phased out from a stock appearance in 61. You can see, again, just the originality of this car. If you follow this channel at all, you know that that's something I actually like. We can see under the hood doesn't look too bad, considering some of these will tend to have the challenge with the moisture under the hood with the skeleton, if you will. Just looking here, you can see that they're doing their best to kind of give you a good bit of photos. And we can see the rear three-quarter shot there. We see the top is working. The windows are down. We do have the VIN plate, so we'll take a look at that, kind of a deep dive. We can see it does appear to have the original floor mats, which are pretty rare. And those are repopped, but those do look original. We can see there is a little ding here, which is not uncommon in these kind of bigger cars to have some dings and challenges there and some of the different bumper ends. So those are some of the photos we want to take a look at. What I want to do here is I'm going to go through some information that you might want to think about if you're looking to make a purchase. I think this car, again, is going to appeal to a lot of people. We know in 64, if we take a look here, I just did a 64 sedan review, so some of this seems kind of redundant, but basically mid-August of 63 through July, kind of mid to end of July 64 was the production, and we can see here the convertible was 3,328 produced. I just took this screenshot from Haggerty. I'm a Haggerty customer, and you can see the range is anywhere from almost 25K all the way up just north of 100,000 in terms of the condition. It's kind of hard to tell what condition this one's in, but I will show you some of the pros of this listing, of this car rather, on why it may be something for you. The serial number is listed. We will look through, which let's go ahead and do now. We're going to go down here, and what they did is the way eBay works is a lot of times if you scroll down, you're going to have these larger images. But you can see here, there's not a super detailed description. The first little paragraph there just kind of reinforces the numbers, which I kind of shared with you just a moment ago. They do say it's under the same ownership since 86. We'll find something here in a moment we'll discuss to see if that's contradicting to something maybe that happened a couple of years ago. But regardless, more than likely, this is a very low ownership car, maybe a second, maybe a third or fourth owner, rather. They reinforce it has the 430. It has, they're saying the original rose beige leather upholstery. Again, it does look original. They reinforce the mileage, if is accurate, is just under 70,000. There's not a lot of information here. It just reinforces cashier check or bank wire transfer for the purchase. When we jump back to the slideshow, now I did find this in the Linkin Registry, and again, you can Google or go to the linkinregistry.com. If you've been watching these videos, you know I do this each time. And with this one, it was found. And according to the Linkin Registry, they had posted in there that it had sold on July 30th of 2021 in Pittsburgh, Kansas. Now, if just doing a basic search, I was able to find that this car did sell, or according to Hemmings.com, they marked it as sold at $45,150. just about almost 3 years ago. So the information in the Linkin Registry would have been entered more than likely from kind of maybe, from here. Here's the VIN, here's some information on it. So it's interesting that they mentioned that it's under the same ownership since 86. Now it's possible that maybe they marked it as sold and the car didn't sell. It's possible that they quote sold it and the person didn't come up with the money. It's really hard to kind of determine what could have happened. Now, a lot of times, and I meant to mention this the other day, I like to look at how many ratings someone has. So I think with the sedan that I looked at the other day, the guy had one review that wasn't so good, but the majority of his was positive. But I think the sedan was like 380, almost 400 feedbacks. If you take a look at this one, it only has one, from what I can tell. I believe I think that's the rating there in the one. I know sometimes it busted it out to that it was the one listing they had, but that's something that I haven't talked a lot about because I haven't been doing a ton of these listing reviews for eBay, just because a lot of stuff is on Bring a Trailer. But what I would tell you is that's something to be conscious of. I've been on eBay for about I'd say almost 25 years. I think in 2000, around there is where I started. And that, if you remember back in the early days of eBay, the rating it's a big thing. And I think it still is. But this person, from what I can tell there, unless I'm looking at this wrong, they only have one rating. So if this car did potentially sell 3 years ago, and now someone's saying it's the same ownership since 86, if it was me looking to buy it, I would certainly send them this link and say, hey, you mentioned that it was the same owner since 86. What's up with this? Did this car sell? The reason why I'm saying that is you want to avoid any kind of scam. Certainly anybody could go out here and list this car. And I'm not saying that it is a scam, but you just want to be conscious of that. If we go back here to the presentation, we see the VIN number here. We know, if you've been watching this channel, the first number represents the year. So it's a 64. It was built in Wixom. 86 is the four-door convertible. So this 86, the letter N is the MEL 430, which is pretty standard. And, we kind of ignore the number 4 here. They also all start with that. This would have been the 19,760th unit built for the model year 64. The good news is they do have the photo here of the door plate, so we can actually get a little bit more information from it. We know, of course, already we've established that it's a four-door convertible. The color is Z, which is silver sand. I think that color is kind of a little ironic because, I can understand the sand, but I'm not sure the silver part of it, but that is the name of the color. The trim, as they mentioned in the listing 84, is beige. And if you take a look at this, the date code is 26M. We can go over to the little chart I created. M equals December. So this is just going to be A through M. And we skip over I, as someone has pointed out to me, and I had to kind of look this up. I was not used because it could be confused with the number 1. So basically A is January. You go all the way through. You skip the letter I. M equals December. So this is December and then 2/6. So this is right after Christmas of 63. So about a little over a month after the JFK assassination, this car was created for the 64 model year. This is one of the biggest selling points of this car. And again, if a lot of these folks that are selling these cars, they may not understand this, but certainly if you were ever selling a car and you have a DSO 52, you would really want to highlight that this is a California car. And of course, that's a warmer climate, not kind of the Rust Belt, things like that. So that definitely is a key selling point. I own a red 65 that has a DSO from 52. And that's a key point, right? It's from the Los Angeles district sales office area, if you will. And the rest is standard with the axle and the dual range automatic trans. Now, the pros of this listing, it's a complete car. It's an original car that we can kind of tell hasn't been redone. It hasn't really been resto modded. They do mention that it was maybe painted in the 80s, which I'm okay with, a quick respray, if you will. It's a desirable year. We established a little while ago 3,138 convertibles built. Many people love the 1s, 2s, and 3s. There's a lot of folks like me that love the 64, 65. So everybody kind of has a preference. But if you look at the sweet spot in the middle, 63 and 64 are years that a lot of people are kind of going after. They just love the years. It's a desirable color, so I kind of joke and say it's not a black Lincoln. Of course, not every Lincoln is black, but it's something a little bit different. The top and windows work per the photos, so we would want to get more information on that. And it also is an air-conditioned car, which we could see from the photos on the eBay listing. Now, I kind of went a little quicker through some of these photos, but what I want to point out here is the engine bay. So if it's a 52 DSO, typically this air cleaner and this where you pour the oil in, there's normally going to be a little hose here that connects. If this is a California car, that was for the California emissions. Now, in one of the photos, it looks like there was a little hose coming off this side, so maybe this was twisted and this wasn't clocked perfectly right, or maybe the little inlet is there, but that's one thing I would point out. It's not a deal breaker if it's not there. It's just they're kind of getting harder to find. And I think at first I thought maybe that's what it was, but I think this is the radiator hose coming around from the expansion tank. We can see that it has the single pot reservoir here, not the end of the world, but I always suggest, especially if someone was looking to kind of upgrade a few things on a car and even kind of keep it original, to go with a dual master cylinder. That's going to ensure that if, this goes out, you don't have brakes. If you have a dual, which was required in 67 going forward, it's just a safer option. Also, this does have the 2-port, not the 3-port fuel pump. You can tell because it has these two screws, if you will, on top. That's usually the indicator. Now, again, as I've said, if it's not broke, don't fix it. But most people will tell you in the Lincoln community that if you have the 2-port, you're going to be a little bit more prone to potential vapor lock where the car stalls out. The good thing is this has the original insulation right here around these fuel lines, and that helps from the fuel kind of baking in those lines as it's coming into the engine. These engine bays get very, very hot. You can just kind of see, where the headers are at, the exhaust manifolds, if you will, and kind of where the aprons are at in this engine bay. Just a lot of heat builds in there, and these cars, can stall out if they vapor lock. So that's a whole nother subject I've kind of hit upon a little bit in the past. At first glance, it looks like the bumper maybe has a little ding or dent, but I don't think it does. I think it's just maybe the glare on it. But I always tell you to look at this area right here along the top of the bumper. That would indicate if there's a ding that the car maybe jumped into reverse in the past. I can't really tell. It doesn't look like there's anything there. We do have this one photo. We can see a little bit inside the deck lid, and it does look really good. I wish there were more photos, but as I mentioned in the past, a key thing is with the adhesive that was used on the hood and the deck lids of these cars, it's sometimes prone to hold moisture. If this car was resprayed in the 80s, they probably didn't go through, chipping all of that out, but at least from this photo, it looks good. We can see it does have all of the trunk interior, which is kind of rare these days. You can also see it has the cover for where all of the top switches and relays rather are at. The relays are kind of behind here. So again, these are often discarded. That's kind of cool. One thing here, and I didn't note this on some of the things to think about, which I'm going to go to next. It does need to have the bar on this top kind of rivet. It needs to have, or this divot rather, it needs to have the bar installed here. I have a video on my channel. It's very easy to do. If you don't want to figure it out, you can go to Wallace. He has a kit that's already pre-cut, and you can install it very easy. That's something that John Cashman always talks about. Now, I want to round this video out and just jump back here and talk about some of the key callouts, and then we'll close this out. To me, the description could be more detailed. Does the top window, rear auto drops, is that stuff functioning, right? There's no mention of it. Now we can glean from the photos and go, okay, well, the top is down, the windows are down, so on and so forth. But I would want a little bit of reassurance there. I would definitely ask that question. Do the vent windows work as well? There's no video, which I would highly suggest that you request. So if this is a legit listing and you're looking to buy this car and for some reason you couldn't get out to Pittsburgh, Kansas, I would highly suggest that you engage with the owner and you obtain photos of the car starting, or videos of the car starting, the windows going up and down, the vent windows. The reason being is the windows may work, but if they're super slow, the tracks need to be cleaned, maybe the motors are, just kind of dying out a little bit in the windows, all of that stuff can cost a lot of money. I'm not saying that it does or doesn't work. We want to assume that they do work because they're down in the photos, but that's something that you would want to ask about. Also, these cars are prone to exhaust leaks kind of at the manifolds. So, it's not uncommon to have to change a manifold, but a lot of times if you have a photo or a video of the car running, you'll be able to hear that popping. It's more of an annoying sound that you'll kind of hear, which is kind of common in these cars. The number one thing is we really need undercarriage photos to ensure it's not too rusty underneath the car. We need photos inside the trunk and deck lid, which again, I did mention that there is that one. I don't think this photo is necessarily a bad photo, but I would certainly, I'd want to get a few more photos, maybe from the other side and then just inside here. It would also give a little bit of indication to the upper back panel switch. Was it swapped out over time? We can't see it, so we want to assume that it's probably original. Me personally, I have said this before, and I've went on the record and said, hey, I like these cars that are more original. I think, it reinforces they haven't been tinkered with, that, it's something, as long as it's not rusted out, which I kind of have the feeling that it's not, only because it's a 52 DSO, but it's hard to tell, after it left California area, let's say in 86, someone buys it across the country, did they drive it in, the harsh winters? Was it garage kept? I would assume it wasn't driven in harsh weathers. I would assume that it was garage kept because I think the condition would be a lot worse than this, especially under the deck lid and under the hood. We could see, the top isn't perfect, but it's certainly better than even the one on my 64, which is original. So when I look at the interior, again, I look at something that you can maybe clean up and steam clean and kind of keep that originality, or you can certainly restore this one if you wanted to. So those are a few call outs that I have. Again, if this is a car that you're looking to potentially buy, I would highly suggest that you engage with the seller via email, or, whatever eBay allows. I forget if they allow you to share phone numbers. I think they do. But I would engage with them. This one just popped up, I want to say in the last day, because I don't think I saw it yesterday, but it's already at 18,000. So I think the originality of this one, the kind of untouched car, if you will, for the most part, is going to kind of drive a pretty strong price on this. It's often what people are looking at, something that hasn't really been touched too much, but allows for them to either restore or, dare I say, resto mod the car. So let me know what you think in the comments. Thank you so much for the support. Remember, you can check out Linkin Addict Podcast via any podcast platform, or you can just go to linkinaddict.com and you can find ways to listen, including right here on YouTube. Take care, everyone.